Welcome back to The Explainer. So, what's the real secret to getting ahead at work? For years, we've been told it's all about being the smartest person in the room. But what if that's not the whole story? Today, we're diving into a different kind of intelligence, one that might just be the true game changer for your career.
Okay, let's start with a scenario I'm pretty sure you've seen before. You know that colleague, right? The one who's just brilliant, an absolute wizard at the technical stuff. They get that big promotion they deserve, and then it just doesn't work out. They stumble, they struggle, or they flame out completely. So what gives? Why does this happen all the time?
Well, for the longest time, the conventional wisdom was simple. You gotta be smart. We all bought into this idea that a high IQ was the golden ticket, the one thing you absolutely had to have to make it to the C-suite. It was seen as the ultimate measure of your potential.
But even the academics knew it was a bit more complicated than that. This is a cool concept called the threshold hypothesis. And think of it like this. Yeah, you need to be smart enough to do the job. That's a given. But once you're past that bar, being an absolute genius doesn't automatically mean you'll be a great leader. Your IQ is kind of like the price of admission. It gets you into the park, but it doesn't guarantee you get to go on all the best rides.
Okay, so to really crack this puzzle, we need to understand that we're dealing with two very different kinds of intelligence. It's about so much more than just book smarts.
So let's break it down. On one side, you've got IQ, your cognitive intelligence. That's your raw brain power, right? Your ability to learn, to reason, to solve those really tough, complex problems. But on the other side, you've got EQ, emotional intelligence. And that's all about people. It's your ability to read the room, to understand what makes you and others tick, and to manage all those emotions.
And here's the kicker. This is the part that changes the whole game. Your IQ? For the most part, it's pretty stable once you're an adult. But your EQ, well, that's a skill. And just like any skill, you can learn it, you can practice it, and you can get a whole lot better at it no matter how old you are. And that is a really powerful idea.
So what does this EQ thing actually look like in real life? Well, the researcher Daniel Goleman broke it down into 5 core parts. It all starts with self-awareness, just knowing what you're feeling and why. From there, you get self-regulation, which is about not letting your impulses run the show. Then there's motivation, that inner drive to get things done just for the satisfaction of it. Next, and this is huge, is empathy, being able to understand where other people are coming from. And finally, you have social skill, which is what pulls it all together so you can build relationships and lead people effectively.
All right, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds great, but where's the proof? Let's get into the data, because honestly, the numbers are pretty staggering.
So check this out. In a massive study of hundreds of big companies, Goleman found that when you get to senior leadership levels, almost 90% of the difference between an average performer and a superstar, it wasn't their technical skills, it was their emotional intelligence. At the top, EQ is basically the whole ball game.
And hey, this isn't just about CEOs. Turns out, for pretty much any job at any level, EQ is twice as important for your performance as your IQ and your technical skills combined. Let that sink in for a second. That completely flips the script on what most of us thought leads to success.
Some researchers have even tried to boil it down to a simple ratio. They estimate that your career success is about 80% dependent on your EQ and only 20% on your IQ. Looking at it this way, it's a huge shift in perspective.
As Daniel Goleman put it in the Harvard Business Review, emotional intelligence is the sine qua non of leadership. That's just a fancy way of saying it's the one thing you absolutely must have. You can be the most brilliant strategist in the world, but without EQ, you're just not going to be a great leader, period.
Okay, so here's a really crucial point. The importance of these two kinds of intelligence, it isn't fixed. It actually changes as you move through your career. What gets you your first job isn't the same thing that's going to get you that big promotion later on.
And this chart illustrates that shift perfectly. See? When you're just starting out, your technical smarts, your IQ, are what really matter. But as you start to climb that ladder into management, the balance starts to shift. And by the time you're at an executive level, whoa, EQ becomes the dominant factor. It's all about how you lead people.
So let's put it this way. Your IQ gets you in the door. It proves you can do the work. But it's your EQ that's going to get you the corner office. It's what separates the managers from the true leaders, the good from the great.
So what do we do with all this? This brings us to the most empowering, most actionable part of this whole story, because you have way more control than you think. And this right here,
This is the answer to that puzzle we started with. The absolute best news about emotional intelligence is that you are not stuck with what you've got. You can grow it, you can build it, and you can start literally right now.
So how do you actually do it? Well, it's not some secret trick. It really comes down to practice. Ask for honest feedback. Get a coach. Really pay attention to how you react in tough situations. And, find a role model. That person at work who's just amazing with people, watch them and learn from what they do.
And that brings us to one last, really big thought for the future. As AI gets better and better and starts taking over more of those analytical, number-crunching tasks, the stuff that used to be all about IQ, is it possible that our uniquely human skills, our ability to connect, to empathize, and to lead, will that become the single most valuable thing we bring to the table? Something to think about.